Anton Chekhov was born on January 29, 1860. He became one of the most famous writers in the world. People know him for his short stories and plays. His stories are simple, but they show deep emotions and human nature. Chekhov worked as a doctor, but he also wrote stories. He said that medicine was his wife, and writing was his lover. He wrote about normal people and their everyday lives. His characters were not heroes. They were just like real people. They had dreams, problems, and feelings. One of his famous stories is The Lady with the Dog. It tells the story of a man and a woman who meet at a seaside town. They fall in love, but they are both married. Their love is secret and painful, but it is also real. The story does not have a clear ending. Chekhov liked to leave stories open, just like real life. Another famous story is The Bet. In this story, a banker and a young man make a bet. The young man agrees to stay alone in a room for 15 years. If he does, he will get a lot of money. He reads books and learns many things. But when 15 years pass, he does not want the money. He understands that money is not the most important thing in life. Chekhov's plays are also famous. One of them is The Cherry Orchard. It is about a family who must sell their cherry orchard because they have no money. They love the orchard, but they cannot keep it. The play shows how life changes, even when people do not want it to change. Chekhov's writing is special because it does not judge people. He does not say if someone is good or bad. He just shows people as they are. His stories are sometimes sad, but they are also beautiful. They make people think about life. Chekhov was also good at writing short stories that showed funny situations. The Death of a Government Clerk is one example. In this story, a clerk sneezes on an important person in a theater. He feels very bad and tries to say sorry many times. But the more he apologizes, the worse he feels. In the end, he becomes so worried that he dies. The story is funny, but also sad, because it shows how small mistakes can feel very big. Another story, A Chameleon, is about a policeman who changes his opinion based on who is watching. When a dog bites a man, the policeman does not know what to do. If the dog belongs to an important person, he says the man is wrong. If the dog belongs to a normal person, he says the dog is dangerous. The story shows how people change their words depending on the situation. Chekhov often wrote about doctors because he was a doctor himself. In Ward Number 6, he tells the story of a hospital where the doctor does not care about the patients. But one day, the doctor is put in the hospital as a patient. Then he understands how terrible it is. The story shows how people do not understand problems until they experience them. Chekhov's stories are still popular today. They are simple, but they have deep meaning. His characters are like real people. They laugh, cry, hope, and fail. His stories do not always have happy endings, but they make people feel something. That is why people still read his stories all over the world. Even though Chekhov became famous, he stayed a humble man. He believed that people should be kind and honest. He once said that if a person wants to be good, they should not lie, should respect others, and should work hard. These ideas can be seen in his stories. His plays also talk about change. In Uncle Vanya, the characters feel that life is passing them by. They want to change their lives, but they do not know how. In Three Sisters, the sisters dream about moving to Moscow, but they never go. The plays show how people often dream but do not act. Chekhov did not like stories with clear lessons. He believed that life is not simple. In his stories, people do not always get what they want. They try, they fail, and they try again. Sometimes they change and sometimes they do not. His stories are like windows into real life. One of his short stories, Gooseberries, tells about a man who wants to buy land and grow gooseberries. He dreams about it for many years. When he finally gets his farm, he is very happy. But his friend sees that the farm is small and simple. He understands that the man is happy, not because the farm is great, but because he has reached his dream. The story makes readers think, is happiness about getting what we want, or is it about believing that we are happy? Another story, The Man in a Case, is about a teacher who is afraid of life. He follows rules and never does anything different. When he sees other people enjoying life, he feels uncomfortable. In the end, he dies and people forget him quickly. The story shows how fear can stop people from living. Chekhov's stories are full of small details that show big ideas. He often described places in a simple but strong way. For example, in The Steppe, he writes about the Russian countryside. The story is about a boy traveling across the land. The story does not have a big event, but it makes readers feel the beauty and loneliness of the steppe. Chekhov once said that if a gun is in the first act of a play, it must go off before the end. This idea is called Chekhov's gun. It means that every detail in a story should be important. If something is not necessary, it should not be there. This rule has influenced many writers. His stories also show the difference between rich and poor people. In The Lottery Ticket, a husband and wife think they won a lot of money. Before they check the number, they start to imagine a rich life. But then they see that they did not win. Suddenly, they feel unhappy with their simple life. The story shows how money can change people, even when they do not have it. Chekhov's works are loved by people of all ages. His stories are short, but they stay in the mind for a long time. His plays are performed in many countries. Writers and artists still learn from him. His simple style and deep ideas make him one of the greatest writers in history. People remember him not only as a writer, but also as a kind and thoughtful person. He once helped build a school for children. He also helped sick people. Even when he was sick himself, he continued to write. He showed that life is full of beauty, sadness, and hope. His stories teach us about life, not by telling us lessons, but by showing us people just like ourselves.